Neighbor thinks she owns the whole building, then breaks into my apartment. I, 31F, live in a block of 6 units, apartments for non-Australians. A month ago, the unit above mine went up for sale and sold quickly, with the new owner moving in less than a week ago. This morning, I got up to take the rubbish out and found a note stuck to my door. I honestly thought it was a "I'm new to the building" kind of note, but I could not have been more wrong. Dear tenant, I recently bought your building and wish to introduce myself. My name blah blah. Not going to put her actual name, and I think you will find me a fair landlord. However, I do have rules. Everyone is to be in their units by 9 p.m. If you're going to be out past this, I suggest you find accommodation elsewhere. No pets allowed. If you have any, they must be relocated before I do an inspection, or I will call the ranger to remove them. This is the only warning. I will conduct an inspection once a month, and you will be present to answer any questions or face eviction. Failure to pay rent on time will result in your eviction. If we all follow these rules, I'm sure we will get along. Sincerely, blah blah. What the F did I just read? Fun fact about my building. We all own our units. Nobody actually owns the whole building. I won't lie. I got to number 2 and had a slight panic attack because I have cats, and there's no way I was giving them away before I remembered we bought our unit just before Christmas. We rented it from a friend prior, and when she told me she was thinking about selling it, we bought it and didn't even have to move. So, in some ways, it still feels like renting, but we actually own our unit. Now, I'm not great at confronting someone. I tend to shake a lot, but at that moment, I was quite angry, so I went upstairs and knocked on her door. You know the gut feeling you have? It was spot on. That door opened, and there stood a Karen, her hair blonder than my own, her nails long and brightly colored. She didn't look happy to see me there. I introduced myself and explained that I lived downstairs and wanted to talk to her about her note. She started to talk over me, explaining that her letter was basic rules and even a child could understand it. If I didn't like her rules, I could hand in a letter to vacate. Wow. I would ask if people are really this up themselves, but I work in retail and could answer my own question. I told her that I actually own my unit. She hadn't bought it or the rest of the building, but only her own unit, and that she couldn't enforce anything in her note. She didn't like that at all. She started yelling at me, saying that yes, she had indeed bought the whole building and that failure to comply with her rules would mean I would be evicted. I was just starting to think maybe I was wrong when another neighbor opened his door. He came out and asked what the issue was and if she could stop screaming as he worked nights and was trying to sleep. I told him I was trying to explain that she hadn't bought the building, and she started yelling again. My neighbor told her to stop and then said the best thing I had heard that day. Are you stupid? Her jaw dropped as he explained to her how wrong she was and that he was, in fact, part of the strata committee, kind of like an HOA that oversees the building, and that she had no right to make rules for everyone. She gave us dirty looks before slamming the door. I thanked him, and he said that in the entire time he had lived there, he hadn't seen someone so entitled. Update. So I guess this is an update to my last post. I had a lot of people ask me to post if she did anything else. This is also currently happening, and my boyfriend is witnessing it and texting me as I'm at work. So if you missed my last post, I had a new neighbor move into my building, and she left notes on everyone's doors saying she had bought the building and gave us insane rules to follow. She does not own the building but only a unit or apartment. The jury is still out if she is insane or stupid. She has been quiet for the last few days, and I thought maybe that's it. Apparently, I was wrong. Each unit in our building is allocated one parking space. Just one. I park in mine, and my boyfriend parks his car on the street on the other side of the building. Our parking lot has one visitor space. It's a very small parking lot with 6 spots for residents and 1 visitor. The visitor spot is nearly always empty, and my neighbors have said my boyfriend could park his car there if he wanted, as we are the only unit with 2 cars, but he doesn't mind parking where he is. This morning, my boyfriend woke up to yelling. Our kitchen window overlooks the parking lot, and he snuck a peek out the window and saw the entitled neighbor standing next to our nice neighbor's car, and they were arguing loudly. She kept yelling that she had a second car and needed to park in his spot and that he had to move his car, or else she would have it towed. He kept repeating that it was his parking spot and that she could either park in the visitor spot or on the street, and if she towed his car, he would report it stolen. My boyfriend said she kept yelling she could park where she wants and that he needed to move it, or else, so my boyfriend decided to park his car in my empty spot in case she tried to park there while I'm at work. The last message he sent me said she had stormed upstairs in a huff and slammed her door. Edit. I got home from work, and she has parked her second car in the visitor spot, but she's parked it so badly it's blocking the driveway. Right now, I'm parked on the street, but too tired to deal with her. Edit 2. Sorry I didn't update sooner. Like I said before, her car was basically blocking the driveway, and I had to park on the street. Anyway, when I got up for work the next day, it was still there. But when I came home, it had gone. I asked my boyfriend as he was at home, and apparently, a tow truck came and took it away. I'm still not sure which neighbor called the tow truck, but I have a suspicion it's the one she was arguing with. My boyfriend said she has been quiet all day, only the odd footsteps. Update 2. Well, I'm back. As many of you predicted, her entitlement grew. In case anyone missed the update on my last post, her car was towed, but I don't know which neighbor did it. I'd count a link posts, sorry. This made her angrier, but since I was at work, she hasn't blamed me or my boyfriend. It's been raining all week, and as I don't have a dryer, I haven't been able to do any big items like sheets or towels, only clothes, as I can hang them up inside. On Saturday, it was finally sunny, and I raced home from work, dragged my boyfriend out of bed so I could wash all the blankets and dry them in case it rained again. I managed to get through 5 loads of sheets, blankets, and towels and hung them all out on the line outside. We all share it. There are technically 2 different lines for us to use, and we have never had an issue before. I hung out my last load and went inside to chill. I went back out about an hour later to get the first load off and found every single item I had hung out on the ground. Nothing had replaced it. All of it had been torn down, and my pegs and peg basket were gone. Most of what I'd hung out was still wet and now covered in dirt. I got my boyfriend, and he helped me bring everything inside before I went upstairs and knocked on her door. When she answered, I asked if she had taken my washing off the line, and she smugly informed me that she had not given my permission to use her line and that next time I should be polite and ask, and she might let me. Look, I'm going to level with you guys. I work in retail and deal with nightmare customers. I know how to be calm around these kinds of people, and I tried to be polite about this whole thing with the letter and the car, but my bed is my safe space, and I wanted it clean, and she messed with that just to be petty. I calmly told her that everyone could use the line. It's part of the building, and nobody has to ask her permission. She tried to talk over me, but I just held my hand up and told her I was part of the strata committee. I know all the rules and who owns what, and she needs to pull her head out of her ass, grow up, and stop her behavior because it's not doing her any favors. I told her to have a nice day before she slammed her door. Update 3. I was really hoping my neighbor would settle down, but here we are. Though this story has a satisfying ending, I think. This just happened last night, and I'm still a bit tired, so I'm sorry for any spelling mistakes. Our neighbor had been quiet for a while, and my boyfriend and I thought maybe she had finally realized she couldn't control the whole building. One of her cars was parked in her spot, and the other was parked on the street behind my boyfriend's car. Nobody's washing had been ripped off the line, and no new notes were stuck to doors. Until yesterday. As we are the bottom unit apartment, we have a side door that opens out onto the shared yard. I think the only time I use that door is to air the place out or as a shortcut to hang washing out. Anyway, yesterday we were going about our day when we saw the entitled neighbor and a few other people setting up tables and chairs in the yard. No big deal. It's shared space. A few minutes later, there's a knock on the side door, and it's her. My boyfriend opened the door. It's a glass sliding door, so she could see us. We couldn't pretend we weren't there, and did the usual greetings. She told us she was having a party and we needed to move our wooden planters off our patio because she needed the space for her barbecue. No. Firstly, the patio is our space, not shared space. Secondly, they sit right next to the glass door, so I don't want some random person looking into my living room all night while they are cooking. My boyfriend reminded her she doesn't own the building, and we wouldn't be moving anything. One of her friends asked what she was doing, as they had already set up the barbecue in the yard. She huffed and walked off without saying anything to us, and we thought that was it. It was not. A few hours go by, and we ended up closing the curtains for privacy. Whoever designed this building didn't really keep privacy in mind. We can hear talking, laughing, and cooking, the usual sounds of a backyard party, when there's another knock on the door. I was cooking dinner, so my boyfriend answered it again. This time it was one of her friends saying she had to use the bathroom, and the entitled neighbor told her to just knock on our door instead of walking upstairs. My boyfriend politely told her sorry, but she couldn't use ours, and she apologized for knocking and intruding. Not even 2 minutes later, there's banging on the door, and by now my boyfriend is pissed. He opened the door, and the entitled neighbor started to lay into him about how dare he expect her guests to go all the way upstairs and that he needed to apologize to her and keep the door open for her guests. Now, my boyfriend is usually a calm guy, very easy to talk to and rational. But in that moment, he lost his temper. He told her to fuck off and stop bothering us, to get her head out of her ass, and that she can't lay claim to everything she sees. Our bathroom wasn't hers to use, her guests could use her bathroom, and if she knocked on our door again, he would call the police for harassment. At this point, one of her friends came over and told the entitled neighbor she needed to leave us alone and stop bugging us before apologizing and telling us to have a good night. We expected the party to be loud and go on all night, but it actually wrapped up pretty early, about 1 a.m., I think. This morning when I got up, everything had been cleaned up from the yard, but our planters had been knocked over. Jokes on her because we hadn't planted anything in them yet, and most of the soil in there was used cat litter. I use potting mix as cat litter because it's cheaper, so now she can smell my cat's old turds. Update 4. Well, I'm back. I thought maybe my neighbor had settled down and I was done with her behavior. I do hear her fighting with the upstairs neighbor now and then, but that's about it. This happened this afternoon, and I'm still trying to figure out how her brain works. In my previous posts, I explained how my new neighbor thinks she owns owns the building our apartment is in. Newsflash, she doesn't, and implemented some crazy ass rules, none of which were legal. It took a few arguments, but I thought she finally understood she didn't own everything. Boy, was I wrong. As I am on the ground floor, I have a glass sliding door that opens out into the shared yard. Not happy about this, but we mainly treat it like a window anyway. Since it was a nice cool day, I had the door open but the screen door shut and locked to air the house out after it had rained, and the house was smelling musty. Whenever that door is open, my cats will sit at it and watch all the birds outside. I was pretty tired, and my boyfriend suggested we both lay down and have a nap while waiting for the washing machine to finish. I thought, sure, why not? It's quiet today, and we went and laid down. We were woken up about an hour later by a rattling noise in the lounge room. I thought maybe one of the cats had tried to climb the screen door again, so I got up to scold them and found my entitled neighbor trying to open my screen door. She was really pulling on it to the point the whole door was shaking. I asked her what she was doing, and she told me she had seen my cats through the door while on her way to hang clothes out and wanted to pet them, but the door was stuck. I told her it wasn't stuck. It was locked because this is a private residence, and she couldn't just walk in here whenever she pleased. She kept trying to open the door while yelling that I can't keep my cats from people if they want to pet them and it's her right to show them real love. I repeated that this was my home and she couldn't walk in whenever she wanted. This really seemed to piss her off, and she started to yell at me that I was a little bitch and I was abusing my animals and how dare I speak to her like that. At this point, I was pretty sick of being yelled at in my own home, so I just mustered up the sweetest smile I could before politely telling her to fuck off. If looks could kill, my cats would be eating my body right now. She tried to open the door again when my boyfriend came out and said he would call the police if she didn't stop. She finally let go of the door, glared at us, and stormed off. Needless to say, we are ordering another camera for that door now, and yes, my cats are microchipped. ETA, I thought I might add this as it's been in a few comments. My phone was charging in my bedroom, and I didn't take it out with me when I got up. Where I live, the police aren't very helpful unless it's actually happening, but I didn't want to turn my back on crazy. My boyfriend only got out of bed when he heard shouting because he thought I was talking to the cats. Update 5. So if you're new to the story, here's a brief recap, or you can check my history. My entitled neighbor brought the unit above us and thought she bought the whole building. She hadn't, and tried to implement some insane rules. She also tried to park in other people's assigned parking and threatened to have our cars towed. Told me I was abusing my cats because I wouldn't let her pet them. Screamed at me because I wouldn't let her friends use my bathroom. Anyway, it's been quiet for a few weeks. I normally hear her arguing with another neighbor all the time, but lately nothing. Last week I brought a new car. Yay, and it's slightly bigger than my old car, so I'm not confident enough to park it in my spot, so I've been parking on the street. The other day I got home from work and I saw a young man standing on her balcony. He was quite friendly, called out hello to me and introduced himself as her nephew and explained why he was there. She broke her foot. Apparently at the last family dinner she tripped over a dog and broke her foot and is now staying with family because she can't get up and down the stairs. He said he was house sitting because she said she didn't trust her neighbors, but he admitted we are all really nice and quiet and maybe she is just crazy. It took all my strength to not sing and dance right there. Update 6. Well, she's back. Was hoping she just wouldn't come back after she broke her foot, but last week we heard a door slam from upstairs. We looked outside and yep, her car is there. No idea if her nephew who is house sitting is there or not still. Anyway, a few days ago I tested positive for the much whispered pathogen and have been doing the right thing and staying inside and dying quietly. I'm fully vaccinated, so it's not that bad, though I could live without the headaches. My partner was away all day Saturday because he was picking up his new car and he got home late Saturday afternoon, parking his new car on the back lawn so he could give it a quick hose down from the drive. I was inside watching through the sliding door when I heard her balcony door open and she started yelling at him to get off her lawn. He told her to shove it. It's not her lawn and he is done when he is done, and can she please stop yelling because I have COVID and it doesn't help the migraines. Well, that was a mistake. I heard her storming down the stairs and she starts banging on our door screaming that I'm diseased and I need to isolate somewhere else before she gets sick, and if I don't leave she was going to call the police. I told her, through the main door, that she has been told repeatedly she can't kick us out of our own place that we own. I am staying inside and that she could call the police if she wanted, but she would more than likely be fined herself for wasting their time. According to my who was coming in after moving his car, she looked downright murderous, but once she saw him she took off up the stairs. Haven't heard anything from her since or anything from the police, so we think it was an empty threat. I was so tempted to open the door because, like they say, sharing is caring. ETA, just wanted to add because I've had a few comments on it. We can't get her evicted from her own home as she owns it just like we own ours. Also, lawyers in Australia are very expensive just to talk to. Like when we brought our unit, THR lawyers handling the sale charged us for everything. They stuffed up the paperwork by misspelling my name and then charged us more to reissue the papers with the correct name. As far as I know, my upstairs neighbor spoke to his lawyer about her, but they can't do much anyway. Update 7. I won't lie, I was hoping I would never have to post again and she would become a normal neighbor. I was wrong. So she was so quiet for so long and her car was barely there, I was starting to think think maybe she had moved out, but I got a nice reminder last week that she is still around. To start this story, I must give a brief background. There are 8 units total in this building. I am on the ground floor and the very nice old lady across the hallway, and I have an unspoken rule that if one of us is home and the other isn't, we sign for and accept packages so they just aren't left in the hallway. I had been expecting a package and I had a feeling it was going to show up while I was at work, but I wasn't worried because of my nice old neighbor. She would drop it off when I got home. No drama, right? Wrong. My nice old neighbor had actually gone away for a few days, so with nobody around, my package was left next to my front door. But it wasn't there when I got home. Oh yes, dear reader, she had it. About 10 minutes after I got home, I heard the familiar stomping on the stairs and the banging on my door. Long story short, my package had been delivered and she wanted to do the nice thing and hold on to it until I came home, but apparently it had accidentally ripped and she saw what was inside. I won't lie, it was sex toys. I like to treat myself, sue me. The moment I opened the door, she threw my package at me, yelling how I was a disgusting pervert and I should move out before it spreads. I told her that opening someone else's mail is a crime. It's not a crime to buy those kind of things, but thanks for taking care of my package.
Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more videos like this. Until we meet again. Thank you for watching this video.